Well, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of What Drives You. And I have a super special guest, and I'm going to try not to butcher his last name because I just got coached on this, which is Chad Wojtysiak.
That's great.
Close?
Oh yeah.
Wojtysiak. All right. Chad and I met, and I can't even remember. Maybe you can remember, but we were both in the car business. And this will be not a surprise to you just because you know who you are. But in general, when I met him at a big dealer group in Wisconsin, the Wild Automotive Group, which is now part of Lithia Automotive. He was in charge of their marketing and their internet, their BDC. And when I met him, I was like, this guy's way too nice to be in the car business. So that's kind of how we connected because you were just so patient and so gracious with me and our service. Not that it was bad service or anything, but you were just so out of the norm that it was a breath of fresh air to meet somebody like that. And then we connected on faith and kind of there, that was kind of our connection. Then just stayed in touch these years after as you moved on to your next season of life. So, Chad, how'd you get into the car business?
Yeah.
Start
Well,
there.
thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Carl. Too kind. You're too kind. I do remember that meeting, and we connected not only around the product that you were offering at the time, but also bicycling was a thing that we connected around. But yeah, I got into the car business just coming out of college. I was looking for a job, and I was interviewing at a few places. And I remember one of the guys. He said to me, "I don't know if this is the business for you, but I'll give you a shot." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I don't know if that was like his way of like poking the bear to be like, "Hey, you got to work really hard at this or what?" But yeah, I got involved coming out of college and wasn't quite sure. I didn't think the same thing. I was like, I don't know if I want to sell cars, but why not? Let's give it a try. So I got into the car business that way and ended up doing it for almost 15 years.
Yeah, you did. I mean, you were blessed because you were with a very good group and a very
Yeah.
good owners and a kind of out of the typical cutthroat, high volume, jam people in a car no matter what, and good brands, Honda, Toyota mostly. So you were very blessed to not be on the more questionable side of the car business. So that was a good fit for you for sure.
Yeah, I would say the Wild Group. I mean, they were a fantastic group to work for. I it was a difficult decision to move on from working with them because of the people that I worked with. The environment was always a great place, and it was fun. The environment was fun, but I just felt as time had gone on, I'd gone through several different positions in the automotive world, right? So I started as in the sales role. The internet was beginning to grow, so got into the internet sales side of things. Then we went to open a new dealership in Madison, Wisconsin, and I came on site on as one of the managers to help open that store, and ended up working really closely with the general manager. Started doing events and things. Started doing a lot of project work, and overall, I was like, man, sometimes you think the car business is very like kind of a narrow thing, right? But it was like, wow, there's so many things going on. And eventually, an opportunity came up where I was like, wow, I think God had kind of threaded all of these things together to lead me to this opportunity. So it was really bittersweet leaving, but also, I just felt the Lord was leading me in a different direction. But it was definitely a great place, and they were a great group to work for sure.
Yeah, I think the good groups, Chad, are really good at being involved in their community because most dealerships, especially the size of those ones, they're top five, top 10 employers in the community for sure. And probably even higher up the scale in tax revenue generators, sales tax revenue generators
Hmm.
for the towns they're in. So the good ones are really involved. They're really cornerstone. They're connected. And that's definitely what the Wild group did. And in this series that we're talking about on what drives you, it's really about it's a giving season, right? So this is the time of year when we just had Black Friday and people are like, all right, we're profitable. I'm getting a bonus. Like, how can I help give back? And so that's kind of why we're here in this series. But you're specific because you went from marketplace, my industry, automotive, to ministry with Intervarsity. So what I know you just mentioned God and how He had a path for you, and that's all true for sure. But what was the final kicker to go, hey, you know what? I made good money. I had a good life. Automotive is super exciting when it's fun and busy. There's another side of it too when it's slow that
Yeah.
you probably didn't see too much. But what was the trigger, or was there a plan around it, or what was the impetus to get into ministry, which now you've been doing for how many years? I can't remember.
I've now been with Intervarsity in the role that I've been in for 7 years. So it's been a
Okay.
while.
Yeah.
It's been a while. Yeah, I mean, when I was in the business, it was always super busy, right? And things going on. And in my mind, I was like, hey, I really enjoy what I'm doing here. I think it would be great to run a store at some point. And that opportunity just wasn't coming, right? So in my mind, I'm like, well, I just feel like there's an opportunity for leadership and giving leadership into something. And as I was looking around, um, it just, for me, that wasn't happening in this particular place. And so I was I was told, hey, working in the different roles, I ended up as one of the used car sales managers. And in my mind, I was like, hey, I need to take this type of step in order to look at the next levels if I'm going to continue in the automotive industry. And so I was doing that for a while. But what it really came down to was I realized, in terms of what I could contribute, um, was really, yeah, I'm just drawing a blank here.
No, no,
Um,
you're fine.
but yeah, I mean, we were, um, I am just distracted by a water bubbler that's going off over here. So
No worries. No
my
worries.
apologies.
It's what, and I'll use cliche. What drove you
Yep.
to ministry from a car business? Now, while you're thinking about that, I will say it's hard to leave the car business because if you're good at it, which you were and are, you get paid a lot of money. So to leave a job that you're making six figures plus to go on a raise my own support, nonprofit type of deal, it's a big step of faith, really is what it is.
Yeah.
But it's also so rewarding because I started in ministry when I was young, and it's very rewarding.
Yeah. I mean, what ultimately drove me into, changing directions was that I looked at what, yeah, the money was great. It was fantastic. I was, if we looked at, going to do a trip or something, I was like, hey, not a problem. We can afford that. We can do this, that, or the other. But ultimately, what it came down to was, uh, I'm not doing, in some sense, the best of what I can do for God, right? And what I have to offer is really, um, what is it that I can do for Him? And so when I looked at the job there, and even looking back, there are things that I certainly could have been doing, and ways that I could have been sharing my faith and just engaging even the staff and things differently. Um, so looking back, I'm like, well, man, I probably could have done things differently even when I was there, right? And just been more expressive about my faith and encouraging. Even though you said it, I was exactly what you said, but an easy person. I was too nice to be in the business, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But uh, there were a lot of nice people there. So, but there were other ways. And as I looked at it, I was like, man, um, one, I I'm not the nights and weekends. I'm not going to be able to do this long term. I want to have time with my family. The car business is hard, right? It's not an easy business to do long term. And after 15 years, it had kind of I was like, what is it that the Lord wants me to do?
yeah.
Um, and as I began to explore that, just opportunities opened up, and the really the motivating factor was just looking at what is it that God is calling me into, and if it's continuing to be in the car business or not. I felt like He continued to open doors, as I mentioned, and then eventually it was that door's closed, right? You're not going any further here because I have another path for you.
Yeah. That's cool that it was clear, right? Clear enough because I think for a lot of people it's not, and so they waffle. And I want to just say that out front. I mean, my opinion. debate this a little bit, is not everyone's called to be full time in ministry because we need people that are out there making tons of money to give to organizations like Intervarsity and things that Chad is doing and Phantom Ranch, the other episode I just did, Compassion, all these charities, right? We need people who are just earners, right? And
Mm.
tithers and givers back. But when it's clear, I mean, there's no stopping, uh, you know, the doors that open and the doors that close, right? And to get you into the ministry. So
Mm.
what now on a daily basis, besides faith and family? I know that you said earlier it is a hard business to be in, and I think any retail, Chad, restaurants, retail, they're just terrible for raising a family and having a healthy life. But very hard for sure. Um, but what drives you now in your day to day? I know you're working on a big project across a bunch of different campuses and such, but maybe just a
Yeah,
quick little nugget, whatever you feel comfortable on what InterVarsity is, and then this project that you're working on, which I think is really cool,
sure.
collaboration partnership.
Yeah, so InterVarsity, it's a collegiate ministry, serving college campuses across the United States. So we've got about 700 ministries on various campuses, and really we lead Bible studies, offer places for faith communities, basically for students on campus to deepen their faith, get to know, um, yeah, grow their relationship with Jesus, and go deeper in that. And I came on staff with InterVarsity, like I mentioned, about 7 years ago, and was given an opportunity to work on a project that at the time I had no idea what it was going to be. It was a project called Every Campus. They basically needed help on an event, and they said, "Hey, would you be interested in helping with this?" And I was like, "Absolutely, sign me up." So I got into it, and then I got brought on as the project manager shortly after, which has been super exciting. I've been doing that now for 7 years, and Every Campus is it started with two ministries, InterVarsity and Crew, that had just as a question of what is it that we could do together that we could never do apart. And right now, InterVarsity is on 700 campuses, Crew's on, 5, 6, 700 campuses as well. But you come to realize that when we look at our data together, we're on a lot of the same campuses. And then when we add in the navigators, we add in Chi Alpha, we add in all these other ministries, and we realize we're all on almost the same campuses. And there are so many campuses that have no known ministry. And when you think about just the impact that having a faith community, the opportunities that it has for conversations and growth, you really look at those other campuses and it kind of breaks your heart a little bit. And the vision of Every Campus is we're not going to reach these campuses on our own as InterVarsity or as Crew or as navigators. That's not something that we can do on our own. This is something that if we come together, we bring our data together, we see where we're located, and then we see where the holes are. And then we can feed that information to our planning teams, as we're looking at our regional directors and the area directors, and we can say, hey, did you know there's not currently a known ministry at this campus? And a lot of times it's like when they see that, it brings a level of realization that, hey, we're doing great. We're doing ministries here. But even maybe across the street or maybe 30 minutes down the road, there's an opportunity. And really, that's what Every Campus is about. It's about finding those opportunities, making it possible for people to be able to just get to these campuses and connect and start getting ministries on those no-known ministries. Right now, it's about 500 campuses with more than 1,000 students enrolled. So you think about that. It's over 5 million people that are on campus, but they don't necessarily have a faith-based community where they can learn and grow in their faith.
Yeah, connect, collaborate. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Well, just for those of you who are rookies to this, well, we use a lot of acronyms automotive wise, but Crew is Campus Crusade for Christ. Is that who that is?
They are now known
Crew.
as Crew. Yep, yep. Campus. They used to be known as Campus Crusade for Christ. Yep,
Okay, but it's CRU is their
yep.
act or their new name. Yeah, new branding.
That is yes, not CREW.
Yes, yes, yes. Because I that was one thing I saw on your LinkedIn profile. I was like, I thought you were with InterVarsity, and then I saw the Crew thing, and maybe that's the every campus
Yep.
strategy. So cool. I think that's a massive time in people's life where they're looking for identity. They're looking for connection. They're looking for community. So I know it's a very, very powerful time for people to make decisions and be connected. Because you could go down some really bad paths too in college, what probably most of us have at some point. So to have something else there is important. And because I think about it, you got all these ministries that used to compete
Hmm.
indirectly, right? Just not compete financially necessarily, but compete for attention.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and if five of them just said, "Hey, let's go to this campus," and now you all of a sudden you have five new competitors, as opposed to going, "Wait a minute, time out. You go here, you go here, you go here, you go here." You're just definitely covering more market penetration or saturation, which you and I know from the auto space and OEMs. Like you don't put a Toyota store next to a Toyota store. That's silly, right? You spread
Right.
them out. So that's kind of the strategy here, which is cool. Chad, if people want to learn more about this strategy, this project, or just you and InterVarsity, where would they go and what would they do?
Yeah. Well, everycampus.com. So hopefully it's fairly simple. Everycampus.com. That's what we're trying to find, right? That's the main project that I work on. And I apologize. I wasn't prepared to give like a how can they learn about me.
No,
We
no.
do have, I want to say it's jenandchad.com or something like that. I thought I tried to make it super simple.
You can
Uh,
look it up. We got a
I
second.
think I'm pulling it real quick. No, that's not it. Uh, maybe it's Chad and Jen. I don't know. Uh, yeah, that's what it is. Chadandjen.com. No, must be jenandchad.com because it did pop up just. Oh, wow. I'm just all over the place here, Carl. It is jenandchad.com. I actually haven't updated this particular page in a while, but there's a way if people were interested in getting ministry updates that they could sign up there. They could put in their name and email. We would send ministry updates, things that my wife, she works with Nurses Christian Fellowship, which is a part of InterVarsity as well, but it's specifically serving nurses. And, it's just, yeah, so we put a little bit of information on there, but everycampus.com is where a lot of what we're doing. And we have a community place that we have been building out so that the places that have no known ministries have digital spaces where people can start to connect in community and then they can learn about each other and then start to form on campus in-person gatherings, and that's community.everycampus.com. So just adding community at the beginning, but it's yeah, I think it's a really exciting time. You mentioned COVID earlier, and I feel like the Lord brought me here and through COVID, and because what ends up happening after COVID is the world got a lot smaller and digital assets and communities became much more palatable. And being able to do ministry through digital means has become much more palatable in terms of like how we can connect. So we're really excited about what that might look like in the future in the next couple of years as we look to reach these other 500 campuses.
Yeah, my wife, as you know, is kind of affiliated with Navigators, and then she also does some spiritual director type of work with coaching. But before COVID, all in person, all face to face, all peaceful,
Yeah.
calm, quiet environment. Now she does more than half, I think, on Zoom or go to meeting or whatever. And then we've got a friend who has a practice of she's a therapist, and her stuff is blown up online on video calls and video conferences. So yeah, who'd have thunk that the internet? I always tease people. I'm like, the internet and the web is both the greatest tool for the isolation and the greatest tool for connection. It's the weirdest
Yeah. The
combination.
dichotomy, right? It's just like so weird.
But glad you guys are thinking ahead and forward thinking and connecting all these kids. And it's time where they need to be heard. And we've seen all this the craziness that goes on campuses from a negative perspective. We need to hear more about the positive stuff too. So thanks for sharing that today. And I'm glad that's driving you now and driving the ministry too.
Yeah, I mean it's like you said, there are a lot of positive things going on, and sometimes that's just not what you hear about. And it's an exciting time. It's an exciting time on campus, and even as we and you hear some of the news about just the different spiritual awakenings and things that are happening on campuses across the United States. And some of the stories, like, I know we don't have time, but there are some pretty neat stories where it's just by people doing prayer walks and being present on campus, and just the opportunities that have popped up in those times, and the ways that ministries just gotten started, and the people that are already doing things on campus that we're discovering. It's really neat. It's really neat.
Yeah, as big as a celebratory time of the year this is, and giving back, and people are more kind and giving and warm and fuzzy. This is a very lonely time for people who are isolated. So, not Chad knows this, right? But to those of you who are listening, or whatever, make that extra phone call, make that extra hug, make that extra all that stuff this time of season, because that person who you think, I haven't talked to in a while, probably needs you to talk to them. Probably needs a little love and encouragement and hope, because there's just so many isolated people out there in the world, let alone in your backyard. So reach out. Thank you for the reminder, Mr. Chad.
Yeah. Even those text messages that are just, hey, thinking about you,
Yep, big deal.
thinking about you, can we connect, right?
Yep,
Something simple.
that's true. Well, thanks, brother. I'm glad we got to connect again, and we will connect more offline for sure. Because I definitely want to help in any way I can. Your wife's ministry and with Intervarsity, I want to continue to hear more on the updates. Because part of what this YouTube channel has done is, got some messages and thoughts and conversations out there. But I want to hear how every campus connects people and their growth and strategy and success stories as it progresses. So good stuff.
Yeah, well, thank you, Carl.